You asked for it, so here it is. Many of you commented on my recent video about Jaq James's damning legal obliteration of ASPI's Uyghurs for Sale report, asking me to do a second video with some more content from Jaq's paper. So today I present to you the top 5 ASPI Uyghurs for Sale takedowns. Also, watch until the very end for details on how you can personally help bring ASPI and Western propaganda to account for the damage they've caused. Let's get reporting. 大家好，欢迎回到外媒看中国，我是安博然。Hey guys, welcome back to Reports on China. I'm Andy. Follow me on Twitter for daily updates. This month, independent Western propaganda analyst and international law advocate Jaq James released her legal paper which absolutely and unequivocally tore apart the Australian Strategic Policy Institute's report claiming China's Uyghur people are used as slave labour. In the paper, she methodically analysed ASPI's 6 case studies and 18 accusations, finding not a single one stood up to even the slightest scrutiny. If you haven't seen my first video on Jaq's paper, you can find it in the description of this video. Many of you said in the comments that you would love to see a second video on the paper, going into a bit more detail. So today, I present the top 5 ASPI Uyghurs for Sale takedowns, each of which I'll discuss briefly. At the end of this video, I'll share details about how you can personally help bring ASPI and other Western propaganda back to reality. Let's get started. Number 5. ASPI's imaginary re-education camps. ASPI's Uyghurs for Sale report claimed to show an image of a re-education camp in Xinjiang where Uyghur slaves were forced to train before being sent against their will to work for HYP clothing. ASPI used this 2018 satellite image of the Jiashi County Secondary Vocational School, which ASPI co-writer Nathan Ruza decided was a concentration camp because he found perimeter fences and security checkpoints. In Jaq's report, she includes an image from 2019, which would have been available to Ruza, showing the fences have been removed. Jaq states, "It can therefore be deduced that the 2018 internal fencing was temporary, likely for construction purposes." She continued by adding that the majority of schools in China have security checkpoints, which is absolutely true. Even parents and grandparents are not allowed to enter school grounds to pick up their kids usually, so you'll see them huddled outside the main security checkpoint, waiting for their kids to come out. But Jaq wasn't finished there. She also added a dozen pictures she found of the school that Ruza claimed was a concentration camp. The images show ordinary school life, and Jaq notes that no reasonable person would believe them to show a re-education or political indoctrination camp, while adding, "It's difficult to believe that the authors of the ASPI report did not view these photographs in the course of their research." Number 4. Collusion with the Washington Post. ASPI charged that Uyghurs were sent to work as slaves at the Taekwondo shoes factory based on hearsay published in a Washington Post article. Apart from declaring that the newspaper's evidence was completely unreliable, Jaq found that the ASPI report cited the Washington Post article in their report, despite the article not coming out until 1 or 2 days after the ASPI report. This shows that ASPI and the Washington Post worked together in some way, because it would be impossible, obviously, for the writers of the report to independently cite an article that technically didn't exist. What's further damning in this instance is that ASPI then arguably attempted to hide this discrepancy by changing the publication date of their report from February 2020 to 1 March 2020. Jaq points out that at the very least, failure to declare cooperation of this kind in the ASPI report falls short of academic integrity standards, and at worst could amount to falsification. Number 3. ASPI ignores due diligence. ASPI's specific claims that Uyghurs were forced to work overtime against their will at Foxconn Technology, a factory supplying Apple, failed to include the due diligence findings of both Apple and Foxconn, which found these allegations were false. Apple stated, "We have confirmed all workers are being compensated appropriately, including any overtime wages and bonuses. All overtime work was voluntary and there was no evidence of forced labour." Foxconn Technology also found absolutely zero evidence of forced labour, stating, "At no time did we find any evidence of forced labour, and we can confirm that this facility currently has no interns working overtime." Jaq states that ASPI's failure to disclose both sides of the story arguably amounts to a breach of academic integrity standards. Number 2. Round 2 knockout. One of ASPI's co-authors, Nathan Ruza, read Jaq's report and then made the mistake of claiming she simply dismissed ASPI's findings, and that she should have dived deeper into every one of their allegations by including all 18 in the evidentiary issues section. This led to Jaq adding an entirely new section of the paper, Supplementary Evidentiary Issues, where she adds further salt to the Australian think tank's wounds. Basically, in the new section, she vigorously tears apart the weakest of ASPI's claims that, in the first version of the paper, were deemed unworthy of further analysis. This new version of the paper was only just added, so you may not have seen it. You can download version 2 of Jaq's report by clicking the link in the description of this video. Number 1. Holding ASPI accountable. At the end of Jaq's paper, she argues that the ramifications of ASPI's poorly researched and poorly written report, Uyghurs for Sale, caused serious negative implications for the Uyghur people, including thousands losing their jobs and access to training opportunities. Because of this, she argues that both ASPI and the Australian government have failed to comply with their duties and responsibilities under the UN Guiding Principles on Business and Human Rights, possibly opening them up to legal action in the future. As per the UN Guiding Principles, Jaq suggests ASPI undertake the following 3 remedial steps ASAP. Implement clear policy commitment to the respect of human rights. Develop a human rights due diligence process that, among other things, identifies and assesses actual and potential adverse human rights impacts brought about from its work, and prevents and mitigates said impacts. And ensuring individuals adversely affected by ASPI are able to secure remediation, such as monetary compensation. Hopefully, Jaq's paper will go some way to holding ASPI and other Western propaganda agents to account for their malicious spreading of harmful lies designed to inflict harm on real hardworking people. At the very least, it would be amazing if ASPI and others like them were forced to act ethically and professionally when it comes to their reports, instead of producing blatantly false claims that they hope won't be held to account. Like I mentioned at the start of this video, you can help by making a donation to Jaq James's GoFundMe campaign, which will help cover her further research in Xinjiang, where she hopes to find Uyghur workers who lost their jobs and livelihoods as a direct result of ASPI's report. Jaq hopes to help these people find justice and to get their stories on the official record. To make a donation, search Jaq James, that's Jaq with a Q, on GoFundMe.com, or click the link in the description of this video. So what did you guys think of my top 5 ASPI takedowns? Which was your favorite? Let me know down below, and I will see you guys next time. Bye bye.